In the previous unit, we studied limits and continuity. Although derivative is a limit, as we cannot divide two vectors, it is difficult to generalize the notion of derivative to functions from Rn to Rm. Therefore, we will go over the process step by step. First, we will look at the special case where n is equal to 1. More precisely, we will be looking at functions f from R to Rm. Such functions will be called curves. They are called curves because the image of such functions looks like curves. To understand it better, let us focus our attention on functions f from R to R2. An example would be the function f of x is equal to x comma x square. The image of this function is the familiar parabola, and it can be observed by noting that image of f consists of all points x comma y in R2 such that x comma y is the image of some point a. But notice that f of a is equal to a comma a square. Therefore, x comma y is equal to f of a precisely when x comma y is equal to a comma a square. In other words, x has to be a and y has to be a square. That is, we are looking at all points x comma y in R2 such that y is equal to x square, because y is a square and a is equal to x. So we are looking at points such that y is equal to x square, which is same as the graph of the function f of x is equal to x square, which we know is a parabola. Of course, you might have often seen the word curve being used for function from an interval to Rm. This interval might be an open interval or a closed interval. We, however, will not make this distinction and we will consider all these as curves. Further recall that given a function f from R to Rm, by composing it with projections to the coordinate axis, we can express f in terms of m functions fi from R to R, where I is between 1 and m. More precisely, f of x is equal to f1 of x, comma f2 of x, and so on up to fm of x. Given a function, a derivative is a linear approximation of this function. And a linear function from R to Rm can be expressed as L of x is equal to a1x plus b1, comma a2x plus b2 plus etc. up to amx plus bm. Notice that here we are using a slightly different notion of linear from what we use in linear algebra. In linear algebra, a linear map should necessarily have all these bi's to be equal to 0. Here we are not requiring that. Here we mean linear only in the sense that it is expressed in terms of degree 1 polynomials. And L will be a good approximation of f if L of x is close enough to f of x for all x. In other words, the norm of f of x minus L of x is small. So it is less than epsilon, say. But recall that norm of f of x minus L of x is less than square root of m times max of mod of fi of x minus ai into x plus bi. Also, norm of f of x minus L of x is greater than or equal to max of mod of fi of x minus aix minus bi. Thus, if the function li defined as li of x is equal to aix plus bi is a good approximation of fi, then L is a good approximation of f. And we already know how to approximate fi. Fi can be approximated as fi of x is roughly equal to fi dash of a times x plus fi of a. We can ensure that this approximation is as good as we want by ensuring that x is sufficiently close to a. That is, we know that f of x is approximately equal to f1 dash of a times x plus f1 of a, comma f2 dash of a times x plus f2 of a, and so on up to fm dash of a times x plus fm of a, which can be rewritten in the following fashion. It can be rewritten as f1 dash of a, comma f2 dash of a, comma etc. up to fm dash of a times x plus f1 of a, comma f2 of a, etc. up to fm of a. Recall that for functions from R to R, we saw that f of x was roughly equal to the derivative of f at a times x plus the value of f at a. Therefore, if we define this as derivative, then we have something very similar for functions f from R to Rm. That is, the derivative of a function is given by the derivative of its component functions. F dash of a is equal to f1 dash of a, comma f2 dash of a, etc. up to fm dash of a. Now let us try to see geometrically what is happening here. The line f1 dash of a, comma etc. up to fm dash of a times x is a line that passes through origin. And when we add a vector f1 of a, comma f2 of a, etc. up to fm of a, we are translating this line such that it passes through the point f1 of a, etc. up to fm of a. So we are ensuring that the linear approximation indeed passes through the point that is of interest to us. Notice that so far we took a geometric approach, but we could have as well taken an analytic approach. So let us now see what we will get if we took an analytic approach. Consider a function f from an interval a, b to R. Then this function is said to be differentiable at a point C if limit x tends to c f of x minus f of c by x minus c exists. And when this limit exists, the value of this limit is called the derivative of f at the point C. Now let us see what we could have said if the function was instead from the interval a, b to Rm. Once again, notice that we can subtract two vectors f of x and f of c. Further, we can also multiply it with the scalar 1 by x minus c. Therefore, we can rewrite this as f of x minus f of c by x minus c, just to mimic what we had earlier. Also, we have studied what limits mean. So we can also take the limit of this fraction as x tends to c. When it exists, we will say that the function f is differentiable at the point c, and the value will be called the derivative of f at c. Further notice that f of x minus f of c by x minus c is equal to f1 of x minus f1 of c by x minus c, comma f2 of x minus f2 of c by x minus c, and so on up to fm of x minus fm of c by x minus c. Further, we already saw that limit of a function is equal to limit of its component functions. Therefore, limit x tends to c f of x minus f of c by x minus c is equal to limit x tends to c f1 of x minus f1 of c by x minus c, comma limit x tends to c f2 of x minus f2 of c by x minus c, and so on up to limit x tends to c fm of x minus fm of c by x minus c. But we already know what limit x tends to c fi of x minus fi of c by x minus c is. That is equal to fi dash of c. Thus, limit x tends to c, f of x minus f of c by x minus c is equal to f1 dash of c, comma f2 dash of c, etc. up to fm dash of c. Thus, this limit helps us approximate the function f, and therefore it makes sense to call this limit the derivative of f at c. Let us summarize what we have seen so far. We say that a function f from an interval ab or the real line to Rm is differentiable at a point c in the interval or the real line if limit x tends to c, f of x minus f of c by x minus c exists. Further, when this limit exists, the limit will be called the derivative of f at the point c. Notice that this definition satisfies two nice properties. First of all, it mirrors the definition of derivative that we saw for functions f from R to R. Further, we have the nice result that the ith component of the derivative is equal to the derivative of the ith component. Therefore, this definition makes a lot of sense to us. Let us look at some examples of curves and their derivatives in the next video.